Welcome back to Rumi Gold, where quiet mastery begins. Picture a man before the sun comes up. He's spent his whole life chasing more. Calendars packed, goals lined up, coffee cooling on the table as he sprints after the next big thing. But this morning, he stops. He watches the gray light spill across the floor and feels, for the first time in years, that maybe he's been running in circles. Maybe what he's chasing isn't out there at all. What if clarity was louder than strategy? What if feeling full was the ground floor of every fortune? What if wealth was never a prize, just a presence, always waiting for you to notice? What if the world's rhythm was never your real rhythm at all? And what if the first true step was stopping, not running? Today we explore manifesting money not as a tactic, but as a truth. Not as something to grasp at, but as something that rises in the space you finally leave empty. Where in your life have you been chasing what was never yours to keep? How many times have you pushed, hustled, forced yourself past empty, believing effort alone would buy abundance? Can you name one place where ease has whispered, but you didn't trust it because it felt too simple? Let that breathe. Every blueprint you learn at every late night, every clenched jaw, every wind that tasted of relief instead of joy, it cost you something. Maybe it was sleep. Maybe it was peace at the dinner table. Maybe it was the feeling of being enough already. I know this landscape well. The restless pulse, the low, quiet anxiety that comes not from lack, but from believing you must always, always do a little more. But what if that story could end today? What if money could move toward you, like breath, not because you strain, but because you stop blocking it with noise? You already feel it. Somewhere, colder mornings have invited you to slow down. Somewhere, counting dollars never brought you home. Somewhere, you remember a gentler way. There's nothing to prove. That's the discipline. Stay here with me. The old ways are loud, but this road the modern monk's way moves in silence, builds in presence, finds wealth in making space, not filling it. Let that land. We're just beginning. Let's start with the myth we've swallowed since childhood. You know the one. Only the person who outworks everyone else deserves to feel safe. We call it hustle culture. Finish first, sleep last. But all it really builds is a tight fist in the belly. I remember a morning not long ago. I was up before the sun. Laptop open, to-do list stacked. Every minute felt like wet cement hardening around me. There were deals waiting, messages piling up. I thought, if I just moved faster, if I just grinded harder, the world would finally deliver. But the harder I drove, the further everything drifted. Even when I was closing deals, my hands stayed restless. That hum of urgency, it never let up. That's not strategy, that's scarcity, echoing through every breath. You've felt it, the sense that if you pause, you'll miss your shot. It's wired into us. Sleep when you're dead. Money doesn't grow on trees. Sacrifice now, taste joy later. Every phrase is just another brick in the wall of fear. A wall you end up trapped behind, no matter how high you climb. Here's what most never say out loud. That vibration, scarcity, and rush leaks out. Even when you speak about success, your stomach is bracing for loss. Clients can feel it. Partners, friends, even the stranger across the table, they sense hustle energy. And more often than not, it repels. When your nervous system is blinking red, survival, no amount of fake calm can hide the truth. The culture says, more effort brings more outcome. but awareness exposes the illusion. I've learned sometimes the breakthrough comes right after you stop chasing. When you step out of the frenzied stream, the real current finds you. This isn't about motivation. You already know this. You've watched yourself clench up, thinking it's discipline, when it's just old programming running the show. Let that echo. The problem was never the work. It's the orientation. Hustle is a servant to scarcity, not a gate to wealth. The calmest man in the room sees through the noise, waits, and then moves once. That's the discipline. What if the frequency you wake up on decides everything else? What if wealth only finds you when you stop chasing? What if your biggest win this week was tuning in, not working harder? What would you hear if you finally dialed down the noise and just listened? We talk about strategy plans, blueprints, systems, but have you ever noticed what happens when you walk in a room full of anxiety? No one has to say a word. You feel it on your skin, in your chest, in your jaw. The air itself changes. That's what happens on the inside, too. Before you touch your laptop, before you check your bank account, before you write anything down, the thing that matters most is the silent current you're broadcasting to your own body, to everyone around you, to the unpredictable wires of the world. Let that land. You already know this in little ways. Think about Marie. She's a designer, clever, disciplined, always doing more, but every morning her mind was a mess. Emails, lists, calls before her feet hit the floor. Nothing changed until she shifted her station. 5 minutes, that was it. Hand on her heart, breathing in, imagining warm light filling her up like she was a vessel anchored, not racing. Within weeks, the clients started coming. The flow, not because she posted more or networked faster, because her frequency stopped repelling and started calling. You can do this right now without bells, without sizzle. Sit up, stop scrolling, put your hand on your chest, close your eyes, breathe from your belly, deeper than usual. As you exhale, picture gold light pouring out through your palms. Let your jaw relax, let your mind slow down. Feel what changes in you. Not dramatic, but different. That's it. That's the discipline. Money is just a current. You don't force the river. You listen to how it moves. You find the frequency and let it carry you. Like a radio, you can't blame the music if you're tuned to the wrong station. All the effort in the world won't play the song until you match its number. Life is the same. Work, love, people, even the rhythm of your day. Sit still long enough, and the Zen garden stops looking empty. There's depth there you can't see when you rush. That's how silence works. That's what presence feels like. No hurry, no grasping, just invitation. Let that echo. You already know which station you're playing. The only question is, are you willing to move the dial? Let's start with a question nobody asks out loud. What if wealth slips past you, not because you're unworthy, but because you're creating too much drag? What if ease isn't laziness, but intelligence? What if your big breakthrough isn't some wild new idea, but letting your life get simple enough for wealth to enter and stay? Let those questions settle into the body, not just the mind. Here's the truth. Wealth wants to move, not get stuck, not build up pressure, not break through. It wants to flow, like water down a clean stone channel, not forced, not blocked. It just moves because you shaped the banks. Most people never pause to notice how much friction they build into their lives. Not on purpose. Rainy day files all over their desktop. Scattered notes on what matters. Just one more task, never the same, never systemize. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. You work and pour and hustle, and somehow abundance always finds a way out. David, a coach I know, used to spend an hour daily fixing scattered coaching notes and saying yes to every last-minute request. He felt busy, even important, but he was draining himself. Burned out on busyness, he finally built real systems: a clear coaching calendar, auto-reply emails, boundaries like solid walls. Suddenly, his work was lighter. New clients could feel his clarity before their first call. Frictionless systems, not frantic effort, like a tea ceremony. Ritual, every motion, calibrated for grace, not waste. The same step, the same bowl, nothing to invent, nothing chaotic. Simplicity isn't boring. Simplicity is power. The structure gives you rhythm. The rhythm preserves your energy. That's the discipline. Here's one more to let it land. Imagine an old workbench, drawers bursting with broken tools, every nail lost under a pile. Try to build there, and frustration grows. But clear the surface, assign a place for every tool, and suddenly work moves, wealth flows. Simplicity creates space for abundance. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. Notice where you're making things heavy. You don't need to hustle harder. The quiet river of wealth moves when you build clean channels. No, but here's what never changed, even when everything else did. There's a third door that most people never pause long enough to find. Not hustle, not hiding. Alignment. It sounds like a big word, but it's quiet, not loud. A lot of the world moves from restlessness. You see it in people jumping onto every opportunity, filling every blank space in their calendar, saying yes when their stomach is quietly saying no. That's not alignment. That's fear disguised as ambition. It's easy to think you're making progress when the only thing you're really doing is staying busy. But aligned action looks different. It rarely feels urgent. It never feels forced. It emerges gently, the way a new idea floats across your mind, or the way a morning unfolds before you turn on your phone. Sometimes the right move feels like patience. Sometimes the right move looks like a tiny step: one email, one honest conversation, one shift in your schedule. Sometimes it's a hard no that's quieter than all your old frantic yeses. How do you tell the difference? Fear-driven action always feels like you have something to lose. Your chest tightens. Your mind races with what-ifs. You act from a place of wanting to escape an uncomfortable tension, instead of settling into the tension and letting the next right move reveal itself. Aligned action, though, feels clear even when it looks small. There is a quiet steadiness in your body. Your jaw unclenches. Your breath deepens. There is no rush. No need to explain yourself. You just know, this is mine to do. That's the discipline. Picture a craftsman at his bench. He only picks up the tool he needs. He doesn't swing every hammer just to feel productive. You already know this. Every day, fear will offer you shortcuts. Take this role, sell this thing, say yes because you're scared to lose the moment. But alignment waits for the project or the answer that feels like a subtle yes deep in your bones, not a loud yes in your head. If you're unsure, ask your body, does this action shrink me or expand me? Does this decision bring relief, or is it just relief from anxiety? Let that land. Aligned action is subtle, but it's not passive. It's watering the seeds you've chosen to plant, not digging them up, not flooding the garden, just tending with presence. The right actions flow from the ground of who you are, not the storms of who you fear. You re-not. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. So here's what remains. When all the noise drops out, you start your mornings tuning your own frequency before checking your phone, before stepping into what the world calls important. Even before you begin to ask how or what, you feel your inner temperature rise. Like tuning a silent instrument, so each action that follows hums with clarity. This is the invisible foundation, the thing no one sees, but everyone feels. That's the first rule. Frequency comes first. If the day feels off, you go back, retune, again and again. That's the discipline. Next, you shape your days around systems, not just goals, not just willpower. You create tracks, safe passage for resources and energy to move smoothly. You build things that work, even while you're walking, or pausing, or breathing. Systems are masculine: stone, wood, wire, routine. They exist so your focus can rest, so your wealth arrives with less friction, so you don't get lost in the weeds. Let that land. Then comes action, the kind that carries no rush or panic. This isn't about striving or performing. It's about the quiet obedience to your clearest yes. You act from trust, from resonance, from this steady place inside. No longer chasing, no longer proving. Each move is simple, direct, aligned. This isn't about motivation. Try just one today. Feel how the day changes. Maybe it's one system, one small action, one breath of clarity before work. Most won't notice. You will. That's the difference. That's the beginning. Now, I honor my frequency. I honor my frequency. I move from clarity. I move from clarity. My wealth is built on foundation, not force. My wealth is built on foundation, not force. Money moves with me, not against me. Money moves with me, not against me. I act only when it feels true. I act only when it feels true. My systems make wealth simple. My systems make wealth simple. I rest in my enoughness. I rest in my enoughness. Each day, I return to what matters.